So the decision was made. Now we're doing this in English. Hello, I'm Hendrik Thoma. Nice to meet you. This is a good friend of mine, Dirk Niepoort, Dirk van Niepoort. Many people who are in the wine business obviously know this person. First of all, he's a very charming person, but he's a person of great integrity. Second of all, he's a man of great passion. Third of all, something which I had to realize in the hard way, he's a man of good taste. And he's from Oporto, normally known as a producer for port. Later on in his life, he decided to change to wines, fine wines.
Not change.
Table wines, not change? No, that's your turn now.
No, we are port house, and we make port is an important part of our company.
Yes.
But wine has become more and more important.
Okay, so how many, may I ask, what's the percentage of port you're still producing and the amount of wine?
By now we make about 60% wine and 40% port.
Mm.
And we have increased sales of port. So it's not the port that went down, it's both went up, but the wine has become quite an important thing.
But that means that there is more interest in port globally nowadays, because in my perception, I feel that port maybe is a little less over the years now. Markets are not, maybe our friends in the UK and the United States, they still love port, but here in Germany, for example, many people are not educated.
Statistics say that port has been selling a little bit less recently, but I can tell you that our sales increased 20% last year of port.
Okay. Well, there's a couple of things I'd like to talk to you about. First of all, you came into the business, into your family business, which is a very old one. I mean, you're a Dutch background, 1842, if I recall correctly.
And I'm the fifth generation.
Fifth generation. When did you join?
I started working with my father in 87.
87, and the first wines which you produced?
The first wine I bottled really was 1990, which we never released, which is called Robustos. But the first red wine we released was Thoma 91.
And that was a day when he was very happy about that, I guess.
My father?
Yes.
No, there's many stories about it. So
okay. Well, okay,
we don't have the time for all of that.
But I guess he must be very happy now.
Oh yes. No, with my father it was really the kind of situation, everything I did was wrong. And nowadays everything I do is right, so it's good.
Hey, that's a good story. That's something, perfect. And it's maybe something, because I know wine business is something generation kind of contract. That's a good story. I mean, there are many other stories. However, a couple of words to Portugal on a glance. Portugal still, to me, is one of the great players, but unknown in the wine world. Why is it, and what do you see for the future?
No, I think there are reasons why things are the way they are, and one of them is that...
Can I start opening? You can go ahead.
You know how to use that?
Wait, you have to tell me.
No, okay.
I was interrupting you, but you go ahead.
No, there are reasons why things are the way they are, and I think Portugal made some great wines in the past. In 120 years ago, I think there were some fantastic areas in Portugal. But due to politics, economic situations, it went into more cooperativism. It had less relationship with the world. It was closed, and it got used to bad habits, bad situations, and so the quality of the wine went down quite a lot. Having said that, there were some fantastic wines made in the past, and there is a great future, but there's still some bad habits of bad winemaking.
But that's always. But I think, to me, Portugal has a lot of treasures. Oh, yes. One is the grape varieties.
Yes, the quantity of different Portuguese varieties is very important. Old wines is very important, and I think traditions, certain habits which some people, the technicians, call stupid and old-fashioned. I think we should preserve some of them. We should combine new technology with the wisdom of the old people.
I think Portugal, on a glance, is to me a country still regarded a little bit like old Europe in many ways. And maybe like they're really traditional in many ways, what I've experienced, but which is nice when you go there. It's always something new. Hey, this is a great idea. What can you tell us a little bit about this masterpiece here? Because I think Dirk wanted to present it himself.
Yes,
this is something you've been thinking about for the last couple of years, you told me.
I've been thinking about
Despite
it for many years.
What's the special about it?
I spent over a year planning, designing, testing this corkscrew, and the funny thing is my grandfather was a real inventor, and he invented a lot of great things in the past, and one of the things he did invent was some systems of corkscrew, and actually this system of having two things was an invention of him 40 years ago. And I think here we are again comparing the past, the inventions of my grandfather, with some precision finishing.
How much will it be?
Oh,
only to friends?
For you, I will give you one. No, not this is trial piece in September. In a few weeks we will have it. No, but the great thing is that the same person who made the corkscrew for my grandfather 40 years ago, it's the same person is making this for us. And this is really fun because it's all handmade. It's not a cheap thing, obviously, but when I look at one of the corkscrews we have in our tasting room, we have been using it for 40 years every day, and it looks new.
To me, it's terrific because to me, honestly, I thought like there has to become an end of science regarding the development of a corkscrew. It's great that we have our friends from Portugal here with a German background who are such scientists, and still working on this. Great things, so it will be easier. I like also wines with the twist, you know. The screw cap, shit happens. Okay, well.
You managed to open this.
Well, but you know.
I'm impressed.
It works. So we have a wine, you have many wines which you produce with many people. You are, in the meantime, you have grown to a person not only producing in Portugal, you're working with people abroad, I think in Spain, I'm not sure, in Germany, in Austria for sure, and now here we have a project of yours called, it's a Cape Fortified with a good friend of mine, Eben Sadie, and Dirk Niepoort. It's a 2008. Can you tell us a little bit about this wine?
Well, basically, you mentioned it. He's a friend of yours. He's become a friend of mine. It's the person who really activated the whole thing. We met one evening and we talked.
So that means you went to South Africa?
Yes.
And so you basically found there are some similarities in your work. But because, I mean, the only country outside of Portugal who's producing, let's say, decent port-style wines, we have to be careful. Now, this is a Cape Fortified, but in the end, it's kind of it's made in the port style.
You're talking about fortified wines, yes.
Yeah, so this is a fortified wine. So what happened here with you two guys?
No, the interesting thing is that he, I think his doctor at university was actually fortified wines, which I didn't know.
His degree.
Okay. I think it was fortified. And after spending an evening talking until 4 o'clock in the morning, and the next morning talking 3 hours before actually finally leaving, the last thing I asked him was, Eben, why don't we make a fortified wine? And he said, well, that's what I studied for, but I never made a fortified wine. Mm-hmm. So yes, let's do it. And here it is.
So what's so special? I mean, there is other fortified wines from the Cape. How could you help him? What could he do for you?
I think every time I do something with somebody, some other winemaker, Thoma Rodriguez, name it, Haag. Mm-hmm. Every time I do something with someone, I learn a lot. And maybe he learned a little bit from me. Well, you mentioned that his wines changed since 2008. Mm-hmm. I believe they did change quite a lot, and probably I had some influence.
Some good influence.
So here, for me, it was good. It was holidays, and I spent 2 weeks making this myself, which was fun because at home I don't get my hands as dirty as spending those 2 weeks there, actually doing everything myself. And
so by doing basically from the how you say from the hammock,
podest.
Basically from the podest. Hey, well, even Mike, why don't you move a little bit of the barrels and please push the grapes aside.
Exactly.
How can we imagine this?
No, I had to do it myself.
Okay. So how many wines? How many bottles basically?
We made 3,000 liters.
3,000 liters.
But we only bottled 1,500. I think half of